In this video, we're going to be checking out the most relevant master degrees for chemical and process engineers. Hey, what's up guys? Welcome once again to the channel. It's always great to have you back, and if you are new, I just want to let you know that in this channel we typically talk about chemical and process engineering, either as student or professional life, or maybe more in the process, companies, or general topics in chemical engineering. Let's pass to the topic of today, which is what are the common master degrees that you can pursue once that you finish your bachelor degree. And yes guys, I know that maybe you're wondering who would in their sane mind go and continue studying something related to chemical engineering, but yes, there's people that is interested in studying this. So in this video, what I want to do is to share a little bit more on the typical master degrees that chemical engineers pursue, either if they want to focus in technical areas, if they want to focus on more business areas, or if they want to focus in other things that may not be quite related to chemical engineering. So this list comes from what I have seen in the chemical engineering community with my colleagues, my friends, and other people I see in LinkedIn. And guys, I just want to let you know that I'm not going to push any kind of master degree to you. I'm not going to say which one is better or worse for certain type of profiles or careers. I'm just going to be sharing overall what I have been seeing, what happens in the industry. It's kind of hard to, of course, try to compare, for instance, with people in the US, people in Mexico, people in India or in Europe, but this is a very generic video in which I try to share what are the common master degrees that a chemical engineer can pursue. And of course, it's not limited to the master degrees I will be listing here, but those are the most common ones I see. So let's get started guys, and the very first thing I want to let you know is that I broke the list into three main sections. Section number one is any master degree that may be related or strongly related to chemical engineering or process engineering, or something that will eventually end up in either a chemical company or in a manufacturing company of chemicals, oil and gas, and something like that. Section number two is a master degree related to engineering overall. Not quite chemical engineering, but maybe something in the engineering realm. And section number three will be something which is not quite related to engineering. It may be something towards business, something towards finance, something towards, I don't know, marketing, things that may not seem quite a chemical engineering degree, but definitely work in companies, because companies are huge monsters, guys, and you will see that sometimes someone studying finance is a chemical engineer, or someone in the HR department is also a chemical engineer, and it's kind of funny to see how flexible this degree is. So without further ado, let's get started with section number one, master degrees which are related to chemical engineering. And the very first one that comes up to mind is a master degree in chemical engineering, or a master degree in advanced chemical engineering. As the name implies, you're going to further your knowledge in chemical engineering, and well, the main idea is to keep learning more on chemical engineering. I'm pretty sure guys that when you were studying in university, you had some doubts on what will happen if, or what type of other reactors we have, or what will happen if we want to do multiple reactions or distillations, complex distillations, or reactive columns, or more complex separation processes. All these can be studied in these type of degrees. And actually, these are one of the most common ones that you will see chemical engineers are going for. Why? Because it gives a lot of value to companies or to processes. For instance, if you're already working in an oil and gas company and you go to a advanced chemical engineering degree and focus into separation processes or optimization of processes or control or anything related to actual chemical production, it will be of great value for the company to get you back, and now you will be much more prepared for chemical engineering stuff or tasks that are in the day-to-day work at the company. One of the most common master degrees that you can go for after studying bachelor in chemical engineering will be going for something bio. I say something bio because you can go for bioprocesses, bioseparation, biotechnologies, or whatever is relating chemical engineering with biology. And this is a great step because so far we are great at separating things, mixing things, heating, cooling, pressurizing, reacting things or materials, but these are not quite alive. So this extra step that we are doing as chemical engineers is learning more on what happens at the bio level. And this works a lot in the food industry, beverage industries, but now it's getting a little bit more common to see this in the pharma industry and in waste separation, maybe wastewater you can imagine. And the idea is to start generating this kind of revolution in typical chemical processes into newer versions or another versions which may end up being more efficient, cheaper and convenient. Another degree which is pretty common is the chemistry degree or master degree, and as you can imagine there's a lot of chemical engineers that really love the chemical part, and they may have end up studying chemical engineering because they wanted to do something related to engineering, and as the time goes by they may not like that much engineering, or maybe they really like more the part of going to the lab, working with chemicals, and they end up going for this route, which is essentially working a chemistry degree. Can be working in reaction kinetics, can be working in distillations, can be working in generation of new materials, new products, innovation, R&D, and so on. The material science master degree is one of the most common ones as well, because there's a lot of materials that can be studied and improved. What do I mean with materials is essentially not exactly producing the materials themselves, but knowing about materials, how to improve them, their properties, physical properties, chemical properties. And when we talk about chemicals or materials, we talk about, I don't know, cement, steel, we talk about polymers, we talk about plastics, maybe we're talking about more common substances such as nanomaterials, semiconductors, and there's a lot of things that can be studied in material sciences. One field which is very relevant nowadays for the chemical engineer to go and study, especially if you're into computer science or really into electronics and control, is process control, process automation, and process optimization. These type of master degrees are intended for those that want to focus their attention towards the things that control the process, or things that can be automated towards having a better process. So the main difference I will say is that the chemical engineer is going to be focusing their attention towards the process versus a automation engineer, which will go mostly towards the component of the equipment and the coding and all that. Having a chemical engineer knowing a lot of the process control is always great. One of the most important degrees I have for you guys is this one right here, which is the environmental engineering degree or master degree, or if you want to call it sustainability engineering master degree or clean energies. All these type of master degrees are intended for all those engineers that are in their areas, maybe chemical engineer, mechanical engineering, civil engineering, electrical engineering, or whatever engineering field they have. They end up here because they want to improve their processes, their manufacturing, their construction, their chemical production. And guys, maybe one will say going to the dark side compared to the environmental engineering one will be something related to oil and gas. A master degree on geology or in exploration, production, drilling, or anything on gas extraction or transportation is very important if you want to go work for a oil and gas company. Of course you don't need to, but there's still some need for oil and gas fuels, oil and gas products, so there must be someone doing that, and it's typically either the petroleum engineer or chemical engineers going and studying master degrees. Now that we talked about on the degrees that a chemical engineer can study, and it's quite related to chemical engineering, let's pass to something that may not be quite chemical engineering but still is relevant for engineering: computer science and or IT. Anything related on the use of technologies, their applications, or coding, or having some computational abilities, it's going to be always great for the chemical engineer. Actually, I will say to anyone that can code and can build software, it's always of great use. especially not because of the coding itself, but the logical way they think is always going to give a advantage than, I don't know, maybe there's a lot of marketing people out there, but some of them can code, so it is easier for them to study the marketing or all the data analytics because they have the logical knowledge. AI, artificial intelligence or machine learning, this is a very new, well, not quite new, but it's getting more common to see chemical engineers going there. It's essentially knowing how machines learn, as the name implies, or more into the artificial intelligence. There's a lot of things going on, and I really think we chemical engineers think that it's a robot or something like that, but actually we are talking about processes learning to improve themselves. And when we talk about processes, we should aim to think how a chemical plant can think like a body, right? One great example would be a chemical process that will issue itself a maintenance because, according to the machine learning process or algorithm, sees that each time that the process gets, I don't know, a maintenance on the tubes of the heat exchanger, or cleaning of the unit operation, or maybe a purge, maybe the efficiency or the purity or whatever property that is valuable for us improves. And instead of having a chemical engineer or process engineer checking that data and making the analysis, the company, according to the artificial intelligence, will give itself that maintenance. So that's a very quick example on how machine learns or how artificial intelligence is going to be a very important aspect of the chemical and process engineer in the workplace. Data science or big data is also a relevant master degree that chemical engineers may pursue eventually. And the main idea of a chemical engineering going to this area is because nowadays we have a lot of data, hence the name big data. And the idea is to make use of that data. So I remember back in the days being a process engineer and having a lot of data, a lot of things that happened before me, but it was very hard for me to make studies or make correlations because there was a lot of data missing. To be honest, there's like a lot of data, but was not correlated towards maybe if there was a change on polymer or if there was a change in conditions. Maybe I did have the lab results, but I didn't know what was happening down there. But nowadays you can have a log script of everything that happens will be added to that. So the big data analysis will be the guy that goes there and starts relating trends or things that happen a long way before, and will end up and having a statistical result or conclusion, and will present it to the process engineer or maybe the plant manager or so. Some degrees that may still be relevant for engineers overall will be industrial engineering, a master degree in maybe Six Sigma, lean manufacturing, or anything that is into the supply chain or logistics. Those are very broad engineering areas of chemical companies. So you don't necessarily need a chemical engineering studying that. You can have an industrial engineer or a mechanical engineer, but it's always great to have a chemical engineer that knows about the process, knowing about the lean manufacturing, Six Sigma, and all this. For my pure lovers of mathematics, there's still one master degree that you can study that can be a little bit more towards the pure mathematical area, but it still has applications in your job. I'm talking about probability and statistics master degree or anything with statistics, and the main idea is that you can apply such knowledge, a lot of data, but give a reasonable conclusion based on actual statistical values, not just guessing or trying to see trends and just say for the last 10 days the average is moving. Yeah, but what is the probability of that being something random, or what is the probability of that being a issue that's happening on the plant? So having these tools of statistics will be always great for the chemical engineer. So that was section number 2, which is essentially knowing what master degrees are out there for, I will say, in general, engineers. Not only for chemical engineers, but if you're into engineering, you will enjoy those master degrees. And they have a lot of application in the industry. Now let's get started with section number 3. And as you can imagine, it's going to be a little bit more interesting or fun, because These master degrees are not quite what someone will expect from a chemical engineer, but it doesn't mean you don't find chemical engineers, and actually you find them a lot. Let's get started with the first master degree, which is not related to engineering at all. And it is by far the most selected one by chemical engineers overall. And we're talking about the MBA, the Master in Business Administration. This is one of the most common ones pursued by chemical engineers because it's about business, it's about finance, it's about processes, it's about technologies, it's about doing business. A lot of chemical engineers will end up being in a position of power in companies, either chemical companies or industrial companies or manufacturing companies, tech companies, whatever type of company the chemical engineer ends up will definitely require a lot of the teachings of a MBA. Also, there's a lot of chemical engineers that want to be entrepreneurs or want to open business or operate business all around the world, and this is a good fit for them. Why? Because they will be taught how to manage a business, how to administrate. Typical things that you will learn in the MBA are management, administration, technologies, manufacturing, production, supply chain, marketing, a lot of things you will learn that are related to operation of a company. So you are probably getting the idea on why this master degree is selected by lots of chemical engineers. And I should be probably doing a video on this because MBA for chemical engineers is quite common, or at least around my colleagues and peers, I see a lot of my friends going out for a MBA. Another common master degree is the one in finance. As the name implies, it's going to be a chemical engineer going towards finance. As you can imagine, finance has a lot of numbers, so that's why chemical engineers are great at. And the main idea or focus is that the engineer will learn a lot of the finance numbers, how to invest, when not to, about the value of money on time and all that. And this is of course important, especially if you're going to invest in companies, if you're going to be buying refineries, equipment, and all these type of things. A master degree in marketing is also a very common one. Actually, I know that many of us think about marketing as something which is not that hard, or maybe not for a chemical engineer. We have a misconception on marketing, or at least I will say most of us have a misconception. But to be honest, guys, what's marketing? Marketing is nothing more than selling products, finding new channels of distribution, finding new products, improving products, adapt them to your market, how the markets are changing, how to develop processes accordingly. And if you put all this into hands of people that does not know about chemicals, well, it will be kind of hard, or at least you will have a very weak team of marketing, especially if you're in a chemical company. So that's why you will typically see chemical engineers going for marketing. They really love the idea of selling, the interaction between distribution, logistics, production, end user, and all these type of interactions that you will typically find in marketing. And finally, guys, I will say that a master degree in education or pedagogy is pretty common, especially for people that want to end up in academia. So if there's a lot of people that want to be a teacher, professor, or want to teach at a university maybe or high school, they go for this type of master degrees. Especially nowadays that a lot of universities require you to have a master degree. So a lot of people say, well, if I'm going to be teaching mathematics, or I'm going to be teaching, I don't know, unit operations, I will not go and learn a master degree that's very technical. Why not studying on how to improve my teaching approach? And guys, that was it, all the master degrees I wanted to show you, or at least the most common ones I've heard of. Of course, guys, if you think I missed something in the list that is relevant, let me know. Or maybe not relevant, or in the sense that it's pretty common, but something that you would like to hear more from. I don't know, maybe you want to hear more from a electrochemical master degree, which is getting quite common because of the batteries of the cars or the electrical vehicles, which will be, of course, something, or it's already happening. Or guys, maybe you want to know more on certain master degree, just let me know. I will make my research and I will prepare a video for you. And guys, if you are studying a master degree, or maybe already finished the degree and you're a graduate of a master degree, let us know your experience. Share with us whether or not you regret it or you will definitely recommend starting a master degree, and what's your degree about. We are always willing to check out. And guys, that was it. See you in the next video. Oh shoot! Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment, guys. See ya. Bye bye.